Hey guys. So I'm going to talk about creating purpose in work after automation and the robots taking your jobs. So if that's any evidence, they aren't going to take your jobs. All right, so I work at Y-COMBINATor, and yeah. So if you don't know what Y-COMBINATor is, we are basically an accelerator. We've funded 1,300 startups so far in about 10 years. $85 billion market cap across all the companies, and a network of over 3,000 founders. And like Pep said, before YC, I worked at The Onion. So I did this professionally for several years. It's a very weird skill, but turns out you can make money doing it. And while at The Onion, I also was the body double for Obama. I have apparently a very generic body type. So I'm that guy. He's a little bit taller than me. But that's not what this talk is about, unfortunately, although I guess you can ask me questions about Photoshop if you want. This talk is about purpose, and purpose in work after automation hits the workforce. So why do you want to talk about this? Why me? Everyone freaks out because they think automation is coming. Oh my God, it's going to take all the jobs. Everything's going to be gone. You hear it all the time. Every AI talk, people are super interested in it. And to be honest, I don't think it's going to happen. So the jobs aren't going to disappear overnight. They're going to disappear over decades. And the thing is, that's been happening forever. That's the history of human society. All we do is create things, jobs disappear, jobs reappear. So here's some context. In 1790, farmers were 90% of the US workforce. Now, less than 2%. And we're all still alive. There are more people. There's more food. Food is abundant. Here's another example. 2000 BC, 1 day of work netted you 10 minutes of candlelight. Think about that. You have to work for an entire day to get 10 minutes of candlelight. Now, 1 day of work is 20,000 hours of light. This is a massive change. And again, how many of you people are making candles? Not a lot. And you're employed, you're here, you're paying for conferences. So here's the thing. This is the actual stat. Every year, 20 million jobs disappear in the US, but we create 23.5 million. This continues to happen and has continued to happen. But there's one stat that does stick with me, and this is the thing that I do care about, and that's what this talk is about. It's this graph. This is from The Economist. So basically, it's breaking down the 4 types of jobs and how they're trending over time. So up at the top, you see non-routine cognitive labor. So that's things like doing goofy talks like this. And then routine cognitive labor and routine manual labor. So those are the things that are easy to automate or worth it to automate for companies. And then at the bottom of that, which is also growing, non-routine manual labor. A good example of that is folding towels, actually. At Berkeley, they did a study, and they found that it took days and days for a robot to fold a pile of towels. And again, you see it's increasing. So the thing that I'm actually worried about is that trend. Because as you see, the middle is getting hollowed out. And people have been talking about hollowing out in the economy for a long period of time, but I think automation may actually be creating it. So the world we might end up in is a world full of great jobs and terrible jobs. A lot of people talk about basic income as a solution to this. And at YC, we have a branch called YC Research, and we actually are funding a basic income study, but that's a separate talk. Because it doesn't address one critical component, at least yet. And I think that's purpose in work. Because jobs are more than money. And jobs are also more than healthcare, which you guys might not understand, but like I work at YC and I get healthcare, and that's cool. Jobs are purpose. This is very real. When you ask people here at this event, you're like, oh, yeah, what's up? What do you do? You know, I work at YC or whatever. And the conversation can die out after that, because when you think about it, was like, I spend a third of my life sleeping, and then another third like working, and then the rest may be kind of boring. And this is going to be a real issue when jobs change. And the thing that I'm really worried about, especially for me personally, and the whole industry, is that Silicon Valley is going to be the next scapegoat for job loss. It can very well be the next China, the next Mexico. It doesn't even have to be true. It's just going to get pointed at. It's like, oh, the jobs are disappearing. And like, you see it to a certain extent as wealth concentrates. You know, Facebook has like $200 billion valuation. When they were there, they had like 5,000 employees. So this is true. But I think we can avoid it. Because I think we should help people create and maintain purpose. And this extends like past work, and it extends like past creating VR experiences and games. I think we can start now and get ahead of this trend and help people find purpose in their lives. So one way I think we can do that is change how we educate people. I think we need to do a much better job encouraging ongoing skill development. Our current education system is basically transactional and more or less broken. I went to an expensive school in the States, and I graduated with an English major, which was possibly my fault. But I definitely didn't get a job from that. And oftentimes, people are sent to schools thinking that they're going to just get a sweet job immediately afterward. You see it with code boot camps. And to a certain extent, that's working. But on the flip side, it's actually not positioning people in a way to avoid the ongoing trend of technology going up the stack and taking jobs. You know, like 15 years ago, you had to set up a server, and then there was AWS, and then there was Heroku. And this is going to happen across the board. You can see it with all the cloud machine learning interfaces, right? Like, you know, you used to have to like figure out your training data, and now you can just hit an API. So those jobs change. And so you have to be prepared for that. And this is similarly true with blue-collar jobs. So if you can continually adapt, you know, maybe you're the mechanic on the self-driving car, and maybe that gets automated. But if you're prepared and you have the value instilled in you that you need to continually educate yourself to make yourself better, you can be prepared for this change. Because again, I don't think the robots are going to eat all the jobs. I think the jobs are going to change, and we need to encourage people to lead better lives by being ready for it. We also need to trick our monkey brains into wanting these long-term rewards. I think we're approaching this world where it's going to be, if we reach abundance as people sort of predict, it's going to be dangerous because it's going to be full of notifications, it's going to be full of VR, it's going to be full of pharmaceuticals that you mix with everything, and it's going to be hard to actually stick with something for the long term to create real value. In particular, this is true if you have like some shitty job and you just want to go home and be in VR for 15 hours. And I'm worried about that. And so I think we really need to focus on this. Like, you see it now, people like have a tough time saving money. People, you know, sacrifice their long-term health by, you know, eating 5 donuts. You see it with the environment by people, you know, burning gas when they don't need to. And I think this is a basic human quality that works for our survival, but we've gotten past that for the most part, and we have to keep going. And if we don't do that, I think we're just like, it's going off the rails. And I think the last thing that's particularly true in the States is we need to incentivize helping other people. This is something that I think directly contrasts with basic income. People in the States, you saw in the most recent election, think that even though they're poor, they can pull themselves up from the bootstraps and make something of themselves. And to a certain extent, that's very true. But we also need to be thinking about helping each other, and we need to put value on that. Because if these jobs in the middle fall away, you see it like pensions are disappearing, we need some kind of social safety net. And if we all believe that like everyone else needs it and we don't need it, it's going to be a real problem. Because I think we're going to reach a point where wealth will continue to concentrate. Massive companies will continue to have larger market caps. You know, Apple hit $1 trillion, pass $1 trillion, and they'll only have you know, 100,000 employees, maybe 200,000 employees. And this is going to be a massive issue when the rest of the states all looks at California or New York and is like, you guys have all the money, you have all the jobs, you don't care about us. What do we do? So some people are wondering, like, when is this going to happen? Again, I don't think the jobs are going to disappear overnight, over decades, maybe. But when do we need to start doing this stuff? We need to start doing it right now. All you guys are aware, like you saw the self-driving car talk, you saw this robot do something, I don't know what. Like, right now, we can put things in place to see this coming and actually affect positive change, rather than be a part of an industry that is just going to get pointed at and made fun of and thought of as like the people who want all the money and don't care about other people, because in reality, that's not true. So we need to start doing it now because the transition is going to be very, very rough. I think you're seeing the early signs of it in the US. I think you're seeing it across the world. As companies relocate to the US to do manufacturing, they don't employ as many people as they used to, not nearly as many people. And so we need to get on it now because there are massive issues. The issues are, like, at the core, just like the monkey brain comment I said before, our ability to create cool stuff for all time has consistently outpaced our ability to enjoy it. this is really important. Like, this whole situation right now couldn't have existed 100 years ago. And I'm just like, I'm more stressed out about giving this talk than I am in enjoying, oh, wow, we have light, we have projectors, this somehow controls a computer, I don't know how microphones work, all of this stuff. And this is just like how our lives are. And so if we don't get over this, we're going to be in a situation where our lives are going to be unbelievable, and all of us are just going to be like, meh, whatever. You know, like, I have a supercomputer in my pocket, and I have my basic income, but it's still kind of shitty. And now you hear about people dying, especially middle-aged men in the States, from what people are calling loneliness. They're feeling this lack of purpose in their lives. All the agency that they used to feel from providing, from working in a factory at like some degree of manual labor, has been taken away from them. And now they're working piecemeal jobs. They don't feel happy in anything. They don't feel like they're really providing. They feel like the entire media is pointed against them. And this is a real problem, because people do generally care about each other, but we don't express it in the products that we make. And we don't express it at scale to people that don't relate to us. So basically, in summary, my whole talk is a meme. This is how I feel about life right now. And I think Louis C.K. put it better than I did. But yeah, I wanted to get the message across that this is one of those things that I feel is coming, but I feel that we can actually affect the change that we want by working on it right now, rather than just waiting for a moment in time where we have to be reactive. I think the tech world has realized now, at least in the States, with the most recent election, that we are shaping the economy and the world at a much larger scale than we thought we were. You know, we aren't just creating notifications anymore, or think we're creating notifications and that's all they are. We're controlling how people think, we're controlling what people value, we're controlling how people spend their time. And if we don't start thinking about this in a more positive, constructive way, we're going to be creating an environment that no one is proud to live in, and it's going to be hostile for no real reason, because we're trending toward abundance, and we're just having trouble sharing it and caring enough about other people. So I'm a little bit short on time. That's the talk, but thank you very much. Thank you.